Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. It is the Kevin Jackson Show. KJRadio.com, 844-551-8255. And I was reading a piece, an opinion piece from the New York Times, and the guy said 2017 was the best year in history, human history. He talked about the lessening of famine, the lessening of disease, people living longer, the number of fewer people living in poverty, and so on and so forth. And then he says, but we live in these highly charged political times where we've got a zealot, a crazy man in office, and pretending that he can't credit Donald Trump for this. That's like saying, oh, you know what, this crazy stock market that's going through the roof, this consumer confidence that's going through the roof, this unemployment number that's dropping to levels that practically make it to where we have full employment in America, and all the exuberance of the economy, all the world affairs where North Korea is now reaching out to South Korea. The eagle flies with the dove, and you can be with the one you love, then love the one you're with. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to say none of that's credited to Donald Trump. That's ridiculous. There are countries rethinking the way they are going to market. And that's what countries do, believe it or not. They go to market. They're rethinking how they go to market because of Donald Trump. I don't want to focus too much more on what this guy said because he's an idiot. But what he did say was the world is a better place in 2017, the best year ever. He didn't write this in 2016. He didn't even allude that 2017 was the greatest year in human history because of the context of Barack Obama. He couldn't even say that. But what I can tell you is what we do in America influences the world, and what you did on November 8th of 2016 is what's having the impact in the world that is a positive thing. You are lessening all these things. Poverty, providing internet, making people, getting people able to read and things like this. And what's funny, while the world is improving in terms of its ability to read and impoverishment and things like this, we're actually going backwards in the United States. We were up until 2016. And leftist policies had us regressing. Kids going hungry. Kids who can't read. Kids who have no hope. And the only difference between those kids and these kids in third world nations was we did manage to keep their bellies fed and a roof over their heads. But in some cases, they're no better off. Emotionally, they're no better off. That's certainly a truth. I love this part in his article. He says, I had a visit from Sultana, a young Afghan woman from the Taliban heartland. She had been forced to drop out of elementary school, but her home had internet, so she taught herself English, then algebra and calculus with the help of the Khan Academy, Coursera, and EDX websites. Without leaving her house, she moved on to physics and string theory, wrestled with Kant, and read the New York Times on the side, and began emailing a distinguished American astrophysicist, Lawrence Krauss. He says, I wrote about Sultana in 2016. With the help of Professor Krauss and my readers, she's now studying at Arizona State University, taking graduate classes. Now, here's what he doesn't recognize. Barack Obama didn't free her. Neither did Donald Trump, just for the record. It was conservative principles that freed this girl. And what's interesting about that concept is this guy and other leftists won't even recognize that. I remember when we went into Iraq, and all the leftists were like, George Bush is in Iraq and all this. And the first two female graduates in the history, not the history, but in the modern history of Iraq, had graduated college, I believe in the United States or maybe in Iraq. But they graduated, and they did a profile on these two women. And the left poo-pooed on it, saying, oh, he went to war for blood, war for oil, whatever. And I'm thinking, you just witnessed George Bush freeing Iraqi women to the point where the first two in modern history had graduated from college. And all the left can do is complain. That's how they are. I mean, when do you catch a break with these clowns? He says he wrote about Sultana, and she reminded him of an aphorism that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. The meaning of global progress is that such talent increasingly can flourish. let me tell you, no truer words could be spoken. The fact that the United States exports freedom now, it exports optimism, is the greatest gift that we give to the world. And the stories that will come out of the freeing of these people, when Donald Trump starts tackling things like sex trafficking and some of these other issues that have laid dormant for so long, you'll start seeing the world open itself up. That's what we're looking for, folks. We think we've implemented patience, that we've given ourselves patience to wait on a Donald Trump. What do you think these Afghani women have waited on? What do you think these Iraqi women wait on? What do you think Middle Eastern women have waited on in general? What do you think the world has waited for? You think they've wanted to live under socialism, that they've wanted to live under communism, that they've wanted to live under Marxist rule, that they've wanted to be ruled by dictators, elitists, global elitists who set these crazy ideas in motion to do nothing except allow them to profiteer? Do you think that's what the whole world wants to be? When you're living on $2, I heard half the world lives on less than $3.50 a day. Do you think that Donald Trump would tolerate that from this world? Do you? No, because we've donated. We've given money. But you know what? It's been squandered. We haven't cared about, are these people taking the money and doing something good with it? No, it's third world dictators, the elites playing games with their money, parking their money in big banks, but pretending that they're donating to different foundations, all for the good of a few people, a handful of people in every single country, including this one. Don't believe them for a second, folks. And what's funny is they bury all this so-called philanthropic stuff that the left claims they want to do. They bury it in nonsense. Oh, the war on women, or the war on drugs, or the war on this. The wars that are being fought there's one war that's constantly being fought. It's the war on the American taxpayer. And that tends to be the war on conservatives, which by default means it's the war on Judeo-Christian values. That's the war that's constantly being fought. And it's being fought in the most crazy ways. And I'll give you an example. I saw a story that said, cupcakes oppress women. You heard me right. Cupcakes. And here was the abstract from that theory, okay? Although food and media scholars have studied gendered performances on cooking shows, limited scholarship exists on shows that combine food preparation with business ownership. My study, a textual analysis of DC Cupcakes and Cupcake Girls, seeks to fill that gap, pointing to issues of gender representation that are complicated by taking on the dual roles of chef or baker and business owner. I argue that these two shows reinforce heteronormative stereotypes and gender polarization by reproducing negative relationships between women and food, and by constructing women as incompetent business people. Additionally, I suggest that because these women are shown as business owners instead of just home cooks, such portrayals could potentially disrupt the dominant, often essentialist ideas about men and women on food television. Instead, however, these shows, as part of the wider cultural cupcake phenomena, resort to stereotypical portrayals of women and help cultivate their at times oppressive relationships with food. That's the abstract. Well, let me give you the other side of the argument. When I was little, a cupcake was pennies on the dollar. Now, you will pay $10 for a cupcake. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I can go to the supermarket, and I can buy practically any cake that I want for $10, certainly half a cake. Now you can't get a cupcake at a cupcake shop. And go look at the places that there's cupcake shops all over the place. And you know who's responsible for these cupcake shops? Women. I'm not trying to get all mad at you, but women are responsible for this. You have driven up the price of a cupcake, which is, by the way, a subset of a cake. You've driven the price up to crazy prices. It's like get a big bag of Doritos, and then you go get the little bag, and the little bag by volume has like 1/20th, but it's half the price of a big bag. That's where we are with cupcakes. But this guy wants to do an abstract between two shows, DC Cupcakes and Cupcake Girls, in order to explain the complicated analysis of the dual role when someone is more than just a baker, but not only the baker, but also the business owner. And how it's some sort of heteronormative stereotype, gender dysmorphia, if you will, of women when they can't be good business owners and make their delicious cupcakes.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177, or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.